Is it really possible for a tiny tweak to your morning coffee routine to ignite your metabolism and put your body into full fat-burning mode for the rest of the day?
Check out the link in the video description now and transform your morning coffee into a metabolism-boosting super drink.
At one time, millions tuned into the hit BBC comedy show, but critics have largely panned it as vulgar, unfunny, and crude. Even John Petrie, the BBC's director of comedy, found himself squirming when he was asked earlier this week if he found Mrs. Brown's Boys funny. Created in 2011 by Irish comedian Brendan O'Carroll, the show has, since it began, found itself to be the Marmite of light entertainment, with many hating it as much as they love it. The show follows foul-mouthed Agnes Brown as she interferes in the lives of her family and friends, but often the so-called fourth wall is broken and the cast are seen joking with the crew. One might think the show has had its day, but it has received multiple Academy Awards, and there are even 2 festive specials coming up this year. So perhaps the best test is to ask viewers from the Emerald Isle what they really think, and the response is telling. MailOnline headed to an Irish bar in North London to find out what their views are on the classic comedy show, and were largely met by raised eyebrows, bemused looks, confused laughter, and one respondent simply summed it up as a load of old sh****. Inside of an Irish bar in northwest London, several people spoke about Mrs. Brown's Boys, having watched a brief snatch. For some, Father Ted is the best Irish comedy in Christendom. For others, it would be Derry Girls. Many years ago, Dave Allen was one of the most popular comedians on the BBC. An Irishman who invented observational comedy, he would lead the viewer down a road to an obvious conclusion, before turning everything upside down. Mrs. Brown's Boys, however, is a far cry from Dave Allen for some viewers. One simply called it a load of all s******. I tell you, adding, it shouldn't be on. Padraig from Leitrim said Mrs. Brown's Boys mocked the Irish people and that it was a very inaccurate characterization of Irish people, I would imagine. He added, sometimes it's humorous, sometimes not. It gets a bit cliched after 1 or 2 episodes. Trent from County Cavan said that nothing would beat Father Ted. Meanwhile, Damien, from County Kerry, said the English deserve Mrs. Brown's Boys if they think it is funny, as it's not exactly Dave Allen material. Elsewhere, MailOnline also spoke to the wider public to gauge their opinion. Friends Milla, Philly, Joanna, and Helen had conflicting views on what they thought of the TV show. We think it's funny, but no one else does, Joanna said over a laugh. Philly chimed in with, I don't think it's funny. I don't like it at all. I don't like anything about it. I think it's slapstick. I don't like the content. No, I really don't like it. Milla agreed and said, I found it a little bit try-hard, in reference to how it navigates political correctness. The group then collectively agreed everyone's so PC and that the show was outdated. But Helen added, I think what's funny is the accents, and I think the slapstick is quite funny, but the content is a little bit dodgy. Steve, who was visiting the country from Seattle with his friend Phyllis, appeared to have a similar view. He said, they certainly made the gay guy seem a little bit overly prissy, I think. I thought that was a little over the top, referencing the character of Rory Brown. But there were some members of the public who really enjoyed the clips and thought the show was hilarious. Edward, 23, said, it's been a long time since I've heard potty humor like that, but I think it's hilarious. It reminds me of home. I grew up with a large Irish community in Birmingham, so it's a nice throwback. Vaughn and Natalie, from South Africa, also liked the show and mentioned its relatability and lightheartedness. Natalie said, it's a bit of reality with humor because you can relate to what's happening, but she's making it funny, so it's not unrelatable, and there's humor to it, so yeah, funny. Vaughn added, it's funny, it's lighthearted. It makes light of life, I guess. Mrs. Brown's Boys reached its peak audience of 11 million in 2012 and 2013, then in 2017 was the most watched show on TV on Christmas Day with 6.8 million viewers. It may have slumped to 4 million viewers last Christmas, but it remains unquestionably one of the BBC's biggest comedy hits that has now graced, or haunted, our screens for well over a decade.